Well, good morning, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with the Hurricane Season 2020 update, part of the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion for August 26, 2020, recorded around 11:32 a.m. Eastern Time. Right now, we're going over Major Hurricane Laura and what impacts it is going to bring over the next several days to portions of the Gulf Coast of the United States and even further inland. Right now, Laura is an extremely dangerous high-end Category 3 hurricane with sustained winds of about 125 miles per hour with gusts up to right around 140. Pressure down to 954 millibars, moving northwest at 16 miles per hour. We can see here on the infrared satellite imagery that we have a well-defined clearing eye here of Hurricane Laura and very deep convection that is firing right near the center. And if we switch over here to the visible satellite imagery, we're going to let that load real quick. You can see that we have a very well-defined eye structure right now, with it trying to pump out a clear eye structure, and that is very important because that indicates rapid intensification is continuing as this continues to load here. But we can see this rapid intensification period is still continuing, and that will be continuing almost all the way up until landfall. At this point of about 145 miles per hour right before landfall, we can see nice convective burst firing. You can just track the circulation, and we can go all the way down into the eye here, and you can see those mesovortices that are rotating around, and certainly the visibles in the IR satellite along with the radar presentation really kind of shows what we're looking at. Again, the eye structure and its associated worst weather is still well away from Lake Charles and southeast, or basically southwest Louisiana and southeast Texas. This is still about almost 200 miles from the radar site at this point. So it is still a far ways away, but this is moving in the general direction of the northwest here, and this will impact Lake Charles and surrounding areas later tonight. Impacts will already be felt today. During this afternoon, you can see a nice band here of showers and thunderstorms with some fairly strong winds here of about 50 to 60 miles per hour. So already seeing some fairly significant winds associated with the far outer bands of Hurricane Laura. This will be moving generally off towards the northwest here and impact Lake Charles and surrounding vicinity later tonight and into the day tomorrow. Again, this is going to be moving relatively quickly, so it's going to come in and also come out of there quickly. It's not going to be like a Hurricane Harvey situation, but this will be a problem for many people, and this is going to be one of those very significant events. Now, the Air Force reconnaissance plane that was in there a little while ago, they're leaving now, but they did find pressures of about 958 millibars, a continued decline continued dropping of the pressures, which continues to indicate intensification with some near Category 4 surface winds and flight level winds that were reported out here on the northeast eye wall at about 958 millibars. I believe this is coming from the NOAA Air Force reconnaissance, or the NOAA P3 plane. This suggested about 133 knots of wind at about 952 millibars, so not quite at the surface, but it's not that far from the surface. About 133, that equates to strong Category 4 winds. So this is suggesting that we could likely have this start to mix down to the surface within a little bit of time, especially if any of those thunderstorms can bring that down to the surface, and that will likely mix down with time. This is likely to be a very strong hurricane on approach, and could be a Category 4, a high-end Category 4 at the very maximum, basically, as this continues to kind of push closer to land. So that is going to be one of the problems, along with the fact that we're going to have significant storm surge, 15 to 20 feet of storm surge, basically east of the Sabine River and the Sabine Pass. But from Sabine Lake, it's about 10 to 15 feet. Galveston Bay itself, only 2 to 4 feet. But near Port Bolivar, about 6 to 9 feet of storm surge, 2 to 4 feet of storm surge for Freeport, 8 to 12 for Vermilion Bay, and 4 to 7 from Morgan City to the mouth of the Mississippi. Lake Pontchartrain already 2 to 4 feet of storm surge, along with Ocean Springs, Mississippi. So there's a storm surge threat over a wide, expansive area. And why is that? Is because this is a very wide storm. You can see how massive this storm really is. And again, you can see the outer band stretching all the way, if you kind of move this up, all the way to Mississippi, where some of that outflow is expanding. And even all the way over to Tampa, we're getting some of that higher upper level outflow associated with Hurricane Laura, even in Tampa. But the worst impacts are going to be confined within about 100 to 150 mile radius of where this kind of tracks and makes landfall. And again, landfall is expected sometime later tonight. This will probably be making landfall somewhere over the overnight hours. So this is a very dangerous, deadly situation. Everyone that has not evacuated needs to start evacuating now. You can see the edge of the tropical storm force winds on the northeast side are already approaching Louisiana, the far eastern part of Louisiana. This will be kind of continuing as we progress throughout the day. It's very important you only have a few hours to now rush life-saving preparations, basically to rush those preparations to completeness. And if you're in an evacuation zone, you're told to evacuate, do so now, because you are not going to have much time once the worst of the weather starts to approach. Especially if you live in some of those marshes, the storm surge in here could penetrate about 30 miles inland. This is a very significant, deadly situation. Everyone needs to take this very seriously, and please do that, all right? So I know today was a little bit shorter of an update, but I got a lot to kind of get done today, so I'm trying to balance in a couple of things there. But this is a very significant situation. Dangerous, deadly, life-threatening situation is underway and will be continuing throughout the rest of today into tomorrow. And then even the effects are going to be well inland as a hurricane all the way through most of basically until it gets into portions of extreme northeastern Texas and extreme northwestern Louisiana. It's still bringing tropical storm conditions into Arkansas, with very heavy rainfall expected over portions of the Midwestern states, and then eventually moving on out back into a remnant circulation and an extratropical cyclone in the northwestern Atlantic. All right. So with that being said, please take everything seriously. Heed your evacuation orders and orders from your local law enforcement agency and weather service office, as they know better than just regular old Joes. All right. So that being said, please understand this is a very dangerous and deadly situation. There will be significant damage right upon the landfall point. Storm surge could extend upwards of 30 miles inland, with storm surge values upon the landfall point and just east at about 15 to 20 feet, with higher amounts possibly in excess of about 25 feet. This is a very dangerous, deadly, life-threatening situation. You need to take this seriously. All right. So that being said, I'm going to hop off. I will probably be doing a live stream later this afternoon when we start to get more of the impacts, and we'll be continuing this live stream all the way up until tonight. All right. Have a great rest of your morning and afternoon. I'll be back on here at about 4 o'clock Eastern time. Stay safe, everyone. I'll talk to you guys later.